Hi there, welcome back to the archives. So I wanted to do one more book share for today. Um, Actually, I'm gonna also share one second. All right. So a couple weeks ago, Alice Wong passed away, and um, everybody's been sharing their memoirs to Alice. Um, I just posted a video yesterday of a book that I had that the story of Anne Frank, where I damaged the book. And as an adult, I still have a hard time with damaging books. This was another one that got some water damage on it. But so this is my copy. I wanted to share disability visibility, first person stories from the 21st century, and it's edited by Alice Wong. So this one, oh, that's so interesting. I have I put my I was like, what is that? This is my second COVID vaccine. So I don't know why, but I guess I was reading this at the time. And I put my, when you get your shot and they give you a little bit of a band-aid. So I put I wanted to archive, I guess, my band-aid from my second COVID-19 vaccine, which is on July 28th or 20th, 2021. This shit is the worst. Insanity, pure cardio got me fucked up. Chronic. I can't read what it says. I can't read my own writing. This is the worst. Yeah, the COVID vaccines were rough. Anyway, so this is disability. First person stories from the 21st century. It's edited by Alice Wong. It came out, it was published in 2020. I read this in 2021, around the time, like I said, I got the COVID vaccine. So there's a lot of different folks in here. Talila A. Lewis, Maysoon Zaid, Ariel Henley, Liz Moore, Ricardo T. Thornton Sr., so many different folks in here. Sandy Ho, Keisha Scott, Zipporah Ariel. So I just wanted to share this. So I'll share a little bit of the introduction by Alice Wong. So it starts off with staying alive is a lot of work for a disabled person in an ableist society, and that work has been a big part of my 46 years on this planet. I grew up seeing very few images that look like me in books, films, or television. In that absence, how does one realize that something is even missing? Last year, there was a photograph that went viral. A young girl in a wheelchair transfixed by a beautiful ad featuring a woman in a similar chair. The two ultimately met in person, and their story made me wonder about my own childhood, how my worldview would have changed if I had seen someone like me as a glamorous, confident adult. As I grew older, discovering a community of disabled people and learning our stories gave me a sense of what was possible. I began to notice and save stories about disability that meant something to me. In high school, I read an article in Time about accessible public transit. I was incredibly excited about the prospects of accessible transportation, and I wrote a letter to the editor expressing a wish that this would expand. I lived in the suburbs, and the idea of being able to go places on my own by bus or train seemed like a faraway dream. The letter was published in a subsequent issue, and I was thrilled. It was thrilling to see my name in print. The first time I'd advocated for something on the record as a disabled person. The article sparked my curiosity for more stories and information. As my collection grew, I had file folders filled with newspapers and magazine clippings. I now have multiple bookmark folders on my web browser where I save links by subjects. They number in the hundreds. In surrounding myself with these stories, I found and developed my own voice. And so, really incredible. I'll just share a little bit about the history of the ADA. So, my collection has led me to community. It didn't grow, I didn't grow up part of the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act generation. I was a sophomore in high school when the law was passed, but it had profoundly changed my life and millions of others, giving us a civil rights law we could call our own. In 2014, disabled people throughout the United States were preparing for the following year's 25th anniversary of the ADA. I wanted to mark the upcoming milestone, but wasn't affiliated with any major advocacy or media organization and wasn't certain how I can contribute as an individual. I was, however, certain about three things. I wanted to see more stories about the disabled experience in the present while honoring the past. I wanted to see more stories about everyday people rather than the usual very important people duly mentioned by each ADA anniversary. And three, I wanted to increase the diversity of the mainstream representation of disability, which remained very white and very male. Just to take a look at a disabled character on film from the last 30 years, from Daniel Day-Lewis's appearance in My Left Foot to Bryan Cranston in The Upside. So it goes on and talks a little bit about the Bay Area, um, how on April 5th of 1973, deaf and disabled protesters took over the federal building at 50 United Nations Plaza, downtown San Francisco, demanding action. Bay Area public radio station KALW produced and broadcast Herb's story. He recounted to Jesse how he rented the building by impersonating a member of the clergy, bringing two other disabled people back in as members of his chair. And so this is the story basically of how they were able to start to fight for some advocacy. So, yeah, I would read this. It talks about how Alice goes on and talks about how community is magic, community is power, community is resistance, community is political. And so, yeah, this is Disability Visibility, First Person Stories from the 21st Century. So, Alice rest in peace. So grateful for their work, their contributions, their organizing, their activism, their survival, their lived experiences, their storytelling, all of it. So at the back it says 1 in 5 people in the United States lives with a disability. Disability is probably one thing all of us at some point, regardless what age, what race, what ethnicity, that's something that unites us all, right? At some point, we're probably all going to experience some sort of disability, especially as we age and become older and or seniors. Some people are born with disabilities. Some folks get injured, um, whether it be war or sports, accidents. There's so many different ways, right? Illnesses, we have no clue, but it's one of the disabilities, one of those areas where no one thinks they'll ever be disabled. We all look down on disabled folks. No one really cares about disabled until we become disabled, right? That was definitely, I would definitely say that's an experience that I went through. This is right a passage where it's similar to like the homophobia to queer pipeline. The ableism is sort of similar, right? Where you go from ableism to disabled pipeline. And then all of a sudden you don't care about ableism until you become disabled, right? You don't care about LGBTQ experiences until you're out, and then now you're like, oh wow, I'm facing oppression, right? Often disability can be the same way. So it says 1 in 5 people in the United States lives with a disability. Some are visible, others are less apparent, but all are underrepresented in media and popular culture. Now, just in time for the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, activist Alice Wong brings together this urgent, galvanizing collection of contemporary essays by disabled people. From Harriet McBride Johnston's account of her debate with Peter Singer over her own personhood to original pieces by authors such as Kaya Brown and Haben Girma, from blog posts, manifestos, eulogies to congressional testimonies and beyond. This anthology gives a glimpse into the rich complexity of the disabled experience, highlighting the passions, talents, and everyday lives of this community. It invites readers to question their own understandings, to celebrate and document disability culture in the now. It looks to the future and the past with hope and love. So rest in peace to Alice Wong. I just wanted to do a book share, Disability, Visibility, first person stories from 21st century. Um, so yeah, until next time, in solidarity.